Good evening, Niner fans. How we feeling? It is Victory Tuesday. It's been a beautiful Victory Tuesday. Let's try this over again. I tried to start my show, and then I realized my office needed me for some quick meeting. So sorry about that. We are back. We will not have any interruptions. I apologize for that. But it is Tuesday, Victory Tuesday. Niners wrapped up a W at Levi Stadium under the bright lights of Monday Night Football against the New York Jets last night. We all know this. 32 points, right? Amazing. First game back. Not bad. And you know what? The offense wasn't even at full peak, at full capacity. It wasn't even at its best. They missed some touchdowns. They left a lot of points on the board. Shout out to Jake Moody. We'll talk about him. Christian McCaffrey wasn't playing. And we all know big-time JP, Jordan Mason, stepped up. We're going to talk about him. Got to talk a little bit about this Christian McCaffrey situation because it's getting a little nerve-wracking. I know that Kyle Shanahan today said that he could have played if it was a playoff game, but he said he has Achilles tendonitis. That's a little strange, not strange, but it's a little worrisome knowing he has Achilles tendonitis. It's a pretty more significant than just a calf sprain. This is an issue that could become something more significant. So, yeah, the fact that Jordan Mason last night was amazing gives us a little sigh of relief because we could play this guy. But at the same time, he had, 28 carries last night, which is the most under Kyle Shanahan. That's the most carries under a Kyle Shanahan coach team. That's the most ever. Jordan Mason was running and gunning. We all saw him out there. He had a hell of a game. Much love to him. He ran like Marshawn Lynch, right? People are saying he's mini Marshawn. Power, right? He was just smash mouth type football, but eventually that can catch up to you. And as great as Jordan Mason was, his first start in his career high, 147 yards, eventually it's going to catch up to him, and we don't want that. We want CMC to be there. We want a little dose of both, right? They got a lot of younger running backs like Isaac Orendo, but he's a young buck, right? Jordan Mason has worked his way up the roster, undrafted, and he got his first start last night. Amazing to see that for him. But you got to realize, like, Christian McCaffrey is the offense a lot of the times. Shout out to Mason for stepping in. The lanes were paved for him, and he ran right through those holes. And again, you got to shout out to the O-line, which we'll talk about. But, Jordan Mason last night, how can he sustain that type of, amount of carries every week, week in, week out? That's to be determined. Not a lot of running backs can. I don't think most running backs can. It's a lot of carries. It's a lot of wear and tear. Running backs, they take a lot of damage. They take a lot of big hits. So, we need CMC so we don't overuse Jordan Mason while he's subbing in for Christian McCaffrey. So we're going to see how this Christian McCaffrey situation plays out. He does have Achilles tendonitis now. That's what Christian McCaffrey's been diagnosed, according to Kyle Shanahan. And I don't know. I'm a little nervous. But, these next two games, they're going to be played on turf, right? They're going to be played on turf. So I'm sure they're a little weary. They don't want him to strain that calf and that Achilles even more. You don't want to ruin it even more. So they have to be very, 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 very careful here. So yeah, let's talk about it. How we doing, everybody? Let's go. Steven Reynolds says we're back. My man Daniel Berry Sports. Hey, what's good? Jimmy, what's good? Hey, Debtopia. Miguel, what's good, man? What happened? I had a quick little meeting I had to attend. So sorry about that. The vibes. What's up, Faithful? Why the sad music? I don't know. I just played the little countdown timer. I got to start hyping it up a little bit more. And also, sometimes you play actual music, YouTube will, copyright you. So it's, the timer's good enough for me. Cosmo says, Araj the man, appreciate you. Here we go. Put him in week 4. I don't think you want to put him on the injured reserve, AJ, or I don't know. I don't want to put him on the injured reserve, but if it's becoming a point where it's really significant, yeah, maybe you go get somebody off the waiver wire or something, or you could bring Matt Breida back, right? He's the guy that they could probably bring back easy enough. But again, we're just going to see how this goes. He's been practicing, but you just don't want to flare this situation up. It's kind of like that Dre Greenlaw situation last year. He was touch and go almost every week. He was dealing with the calf in and out of the lineup in practice, and then he would play. And then eventually it just gave way in the Super Bowl. So don't want that situation to happen to Christian McCaffrey. My man AJ Howard says, felt bad for JP Mason after the game. Yeah, this is Victory Tuesday. We got to keep it positive. We just won a game. I don't want to talk about negative stuff, but last night it was an unfortunate event for Jordan Mason, right? They talked about, when did you know you were going to start? And he said Friday. Maybe he was overhyped. Maybe he let it slip, right? Maybe he heard it through the grapevine. Maybe Kyle said, hey, I expect a lot out of you. Maybe he hinted towards it. And then you had Kyle say, I didn't tell him that. That's not what I said. I said he is going to increase his workload. That's what he said. But he says he wasn't going to start. He never told him he was going to start on Friday. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But the media ripped him apart about it. And Jordan was upset because, he made a mistake. Maybe he said something he shouldn't have said, because the NFL could look into this situation in terms of fining the Niners for not declaring CMC, inactive for the game, right? This on Monday. So that could be why Kyle Shanahan had to revert the situation. I felt bad for Jordan because he was visibly upset in his presser after he had a heroic game. He couldn't really enjoy it because the media was pressing him on that question, because he told Lisa Salters Friday, and then he says, all right, man, that's my mistake, because Kyle said what he said. Maybe Kyle said something to him. But, hey, it's water under the bridge. J.P. Mason balled out, whether he knew or not. To me, it doesn't matter. Hopefully, the Niners don't get any fines. There hasn't been any look into it yet. The weekends, they usually deal with that stuff, the fines, as they got to investigate all that stuff. But we'll see. I do feel bad for him because you could tell he was just, irritated. They were asking that question, and you just let him enjoy the night. Let him enjoy his night. He balled out. So, a couple comments from Cosmo. Malik Collins solidifying the run defense. His D-line was so good, man. Malik Collins, Jordan Elliott, Leonard Floyd, they were dogging it. And Nick Sorensen was as good as advertised, according to Fred Warner. Fred Warner was raving about Sorensen. Big difference that we saw those last couple of weeks with the Niners last season, where they were getting ran through. Again, this is week 1. We got to keep it, a little low key. We don't want to be too overzealous. We can't get overhyped, but I mean, it was a very good performance by this defensive line. Breece Hall is supposed to be a top, 5 running back in the league, a great player. No disrespect to him. He is great, but they held him in check for the most part. They had Aaron Rodgers struggling. He couldn't really get mobile. He couldn't really get elusive in the pocket, and they had them stuck. This D-line was great. Fred Warner was unbelievable. Yo, Fred Warner. He had people shouting him out. Everybody was tweeting about Fred Warner last night, the peanut punch, putting that defensive pressure everywhere. And, I mean, he got high praise. Darius Slay was even hyping him up, man. The Darius Slay, one of our biggest haters, put a lot of respect on Fred Warner last night on Twitter. So it's amazing to see, man. This guy, Fred Warner, is just unbelievable. And, yeah, Malik Collins, he's underrated, man. He was a steal this offseason. He was one of the best signings I think we've had in a long time, and I think we're going to see it week in, week out. He's a good run stuffer, just penetrates the gaps in the middle. He just, eating up all that space. He kind of is going to make us forget about Arik Armstead, and he was a big price, $17 million a year. That's why the Niners wanted to get somebody for cheaper, and I think Malik Collins, who's very durable and very effective in that run defense, is going to show us why they signed him, and I love that signing. So, yeah, so far his first game was really nice. Cosmo. Pooney, Cosmo says Pooney's for real. He was getting praise from Richard Sherman. He was creating lanes all over the place. We saw a Baldy breakdown, just show how much he paved the lanes. This guy was nice. He actually really helped that right side. And, Colton McKivitz wasn't perfect. He had some mistakes here and there. But honestly, Pooney, because he was good, he kind of helped take pressure off of Colton McKivitz. And he made him have some decent plays in the blocking game. There were some lanes. I was like, oh, wow, I was impressed. Colton McKivitz, he wasn't perfect on tape from what I've seen so far, but he looked okay. And I think it's because he has a better player on that right side next to him than it's elevating his game, just like Trent Williams elevates Aaron Banks or whoever's next to him on that left side. So, yeah, Dominic Pooney, rookie, looks like an absolute steal of a draft pick. So, shout out. Definitely good to see. So, give Moody his flowers, says Christine. Let's give Moody his flowers in the chat. I want y'all to type some flowers for my boy Jake Moody. 6 for 6. People hated this guy. They hated that we drafted a kicker. Now he's still going to get hate if he plays bad. But this game, there shall be no Jake Moody slander tonight. He had a great performance, 6 for 6. Now, hopefully we don't have to kick a lot of field goals this season, and we could turn those drives into touchdowns. But, I mean, for the first week, to be able to score 32 points, drop 6 field goals, it was great, man. So shout out to Jake Moody. He was one of the MVPs last night, and he was kicking them with ease, the 53-yarder, though. Thank you very much into the field goal, to make it. That was nice, but he still hit a 53-yarder. And again, he was just nice last night. I got to put a lot of respect on him because last year he dealt with a lot of pressure, a lot of negativity, and it is probably a very pressure-packed situation to be going out there. And, kickers, they got one job, and if you don't do it right, people are going to eat you alive, and they're going to beat you up and talk nasty to you and, just really be aggressive to you. So good for Moody to start the season off on a really good note. And I'm sure his motivation was really to, silence those haters this offseason. And I think this is a really good start for him to get a lot of, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of good, um, it's a good jump start for him, right? This is a very good start for this guy to get into the groove this season. So I think this is a confidence builder. That's the word I was looking for. It's a very good confidence builder for Jake Moody last night. 6 for 6. Imagine playing against him in fantasy sports, man. You probably got eaten alive, sent to the Sharks, sent to the gulag if you played against Jake Moody last night. So shout out to my boy. Steven Reynolds says, how are you feeling about Huff coming back to play the Vikes and Rams turf games, though? Yeah, that's a little worrisome, too. These turf games, man, if you got a player like Hufanga or against CMC, like I mentioned earlier, there is a little worry. And Kyle Shanahan says there is a chance for Talanoa Hufanga to come back this week against Minnesota, but I don't think he's going to play. I think that the Niners are going to hold him out just a little bit longer because that shit can become scary. Sorry, excuse my French. If Talanoa Hufanga goes out there and he messes his knee up on that turf, he's cooked, man. So, and their safety department, they have really good young players, Jair Brown and Malik Mustafa, but they're young. And Mustafa, it was his first game in the NFL last night. It's not like he's going to be a all-pro right away. George Odom, he's not a bad special teamer, but he's a spot starter. I don't expect him to become an elite safety or anything, and he might be a liability at times if we start getting into the, these tough teams. So I want Hufanga out there, but you want to be safe. You want to play it careful. There is a chance that Hufanga could come back this week, according to Kyle Shanahan. So we'll keep an eye on that situation. I don't know. I don't want him to play on the turf. So if the 49ers don't play him this week, honestly, it's not going to be the worst thing that can happen. So we'll keep an eye on that. But the secondary was so good last night. Mooney Ward, oh my God, he shut down the whole left side. They didn't even throw to him. I don't know. You guys probably saw the stats. The safeties didn't play horrible, but it's the corners, man. Isaac Yiadom was amazing last night. Mooney Ward was amazing last night. Deommodore Lenoir, he strapped up Garrett Wilson when he was put on coverage on him, and he had the deflection. It was nice to see, Deommodore Lenoir continue his rise. But Mooney Ward, let's see this. This was just crazy. Let me pull up this stat. I posted this on Instagram today. I'm sure you all saw it. So, obviously, he's on the left side. They weren't throwing to him. It's like Aaron Rodgers. There was a tweet out there, like he was wearing an eye patch, so he was only seeing one side of the field. He wasn't looking towards Mooney Ward, right? It says the Jets mostly avoided throwing in Charvarius Ward's direction. In 30 coverage snaps, he was the nearest defender just 5 times, giving up 3 receptions for 20 yards. He had 1 near interceptions he'd like to have back. So they were trying to avoid Mooney, but when he did get thrown to, they didn't get nothing. Clamps, man. Mooney Ward's so good. I love that guy. He came in a couple years back. We signed him, and people are like, "Whoa, we overpaid this guy. Wholly overpaid." People are like, "I don't know," and he really proved himself. And now he's playing for another contract. That's what he said. He's playing for a contract, and I love it. So, Cosmo says Burford might be a better fit at left guard. You know what, man? Honestly, Burford came in last night because, Banks was a little banged up there, and Burford was good. I saw some some tape out there. People were posting some film, and I rewatched the game a little bit today. And last night, in between those, last night and today, I was trying to watch this game back. And when I saw Burford in there, he looked good on the left side, playing next to Trent Williams. Maybe that's a spot. And again, 49ers, they got to have these younger players step up. Burford, he had a good first year. Sophomore season was a little bit up and down. Maybe he can get back to where he was coming out after his first year, because next year, Aaron Banks is a free agent. And if you can't afford him, you need a guy to step into his place. And Burford's the answer there. So it's good to see it. The O-line was just so good last night. It was better than I expected it. Pooney, great, right? Trent Williams, dog. Trent Williams, this is what I love, Trent Williams. He only left because he got dehydrated. Like, he was dehydrated because this was the first game he had played. But you could tell he was in shape. He was perfect. No pressures, nothing. Like, this man was just stonewalling everybody on that line. Now, it might have been different if Son Reddick would play, but he didn't. Shout out to him for not playing. But, Trent Williams held his own. He's back to normal. He's himself. He's Trent Williams. He went, got an IV, came back. That's all he did. He needed to go get an IV, get that IV drip, come back, and he was ready to roll. So, Trent Williams, man, so glad he's back. He was unbelievable last night. I mean, honestly, I think the only offensive lineman that really wasn't great was Jake Brendel. He looked like he regressed last night, but again, we'll see. He didn't look too hot this offseason. Center position, something that still keep an eye on some of the other guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. Maybe Brendel would continue to get better, but he had a slow start yesterday. And Colton McKivitz, I know people are ripping him apart. He wasn't great. He made some mistakes, but he was better than I expected him to be. I'll say that. He's still okay. He's still like middle of the road, but he made some plays. He made some blocks last night. Blocking in that run game last night was absolutely fantastic. So, Cosmo says Jair Brown needs some development. Yeah, I need second year. You know, he's going to take some bad angles. Safeties it takes some time to learn your, position and everything. And again, they're playing Aaron Rodgers. As much as we, put the pressure and we really shut down Aaron Rodgers, it's still Aaron Rodgers. He's still a really good quarterback. He's still one of the best I've seen in the last 2 decades. He may not be the same as he was. He's 40, shout out to the 40-year-olds, but still Aaron Rodgers. He knows how to attack the air. But yeah, Jair Brown, this is his first game of the season. I expect him to get better. I think Jair Brown's going to have a huge year this year, but he didn't have a monster game last night, but he didn't need it because the corners were doing their thing. And Fred Warner, man, this guy, Fred Warner, he proved last night he's the best linebacker in the league. If you had any questions, he proved you wrong. I don't think any of us had any questions, but I'll tell you what, man, that guy just sets the tone. When he hit that peanut punch, it was over. Like that moment, I was like, oh, bad. I mean, the stadium was like erupting after that moment. I was like, dude, they took every ounce of momentum and they just stonewalled him after that. And, his defense played so energetic last night. Again, D-line, we mentioned them. Cornerbacks were really good. Fred Warner, Leonard Floyd, what a signing. I think him and Bosa are going to be unbelievable. Hopefully they give Bosa some holding calls. But I'll tell you what, man, this team was just firing on all cylinders on defense. They shut down the Jets. The Jets are a good team. Got to remember that. And Aaron Rodgers is a good quarterback, but the Niners typically own that, man. But Aaron Rodgers, not last night, didn't have a good night against this defense. So let's see. Trent Williams is a bad man. Burford pushed Jerome Johnson into. Yeah, I saw that. Let's see. A couple more. We got any other questions? So hold up. I got a text from Jake. We're going to go live tonight after this. Problem. We're going live. We're going to do our recap show shortly after this on Instagram. So, yeah, Cosmo says some rust with some players, but good game overall. Yeah, it definitely was a good game overall, but there was some rust, right? Definitely some rust out there. But at the end of the day, Niners held it in check, and they walked away with the win. It wasn't like a perfect game, but this was a great opener, man. I'm telling you, the vibes were electric. Sideline Raj was activated last night on the field. Like, I was literally feet away from Steve Young and Frank Gore. Frank Gore said, "What's up?" to me. He's like, "What's up, dog?" I was like, "What's up, Frank? Congrats." Freaking Tabor Pepper came up, walked up to me, said, "What's up?" to me. Tabor's a real ass dude. Like, honestly, Tabor Pepper's like one of the coolest dudes out there, man. He's so nice to the fans, and he's so nice to me because we've talked. I've met, we've, spoken on DMs and stuff. Such a cool dude. He just walked up to me and said, "Hey, what's up, Raj? How you doing, man? Cool to see you on the sideline." Like, it was dope because I saw him. I said hello from afar, but he walked up to me. So, a great experience, great Monday night, man. And it was just cool to see Ricky Pearsall there. The team's rallying around him. Sergeant Harrell, the heroic police officer that helped save his life. Like, she was there. I mean, everything was great. Frank Gore, a lot of legends in the building. It was a very, very, very great Monday night football game. It was one of the best games I've been to actually ever. Honestly, that was one of the best games I've ever been to in my life. I loved it. It was great. It was a great opener, a good way to open up Levi's, a great win. The vibes were just like, oh man, people were hyped up last night. There's a lot of people. So my man Julius says, "I got some bars for the people that are still hating on Purdy." He says, "You can't have an Avenger squad without captain to assemble them." Okay, we can't have an Avengers. If we're the Avengers, you need a captain to assemble. I like it, Julius. That's good. I like it. We might have to use that one sometime. Might have to use it down the line. I love it. Let's see. Take a look at some of the other news, shall we? So, again, 49ers, they do have some good news because Hufanga might come back. There's some other players that could come back this week to practice. We didn't mention them, but Aaron Banks. Let's take a look at these injury report. Oh yeah, so Aaron Banks, he left the game with a calf contusion, and then Jauan Jennings, he has an ankle issue he was dealing with. They're both day to day this week, so that was a little irritating to hear that Jauan Jennings got a little ankle issue, but I'm sure he'll be back. He's a dog. Jauan Jennings, put some respect. This guy was making big catch over big catch. He was making the big catches that Brandon Ayuk didn't make. And you know what? And I know hate on Ayuk, but he's rusty. Peyton Manning ripped him on the Manning cast and was just crushing him and said, hey, look, man, you got to make those catches. This is why you need training camp. I agree. This is why you need training camp. But I think he's a good receiver, and he'll get his timing down. He's a little, rusty. He looked a little gassed out. But Jennings, man, give him that $30 million, right? Jauan Jennings is a dog. But he is dealing with the ankle issue. Aaron Banks has a calf contusion. So maybe we'll see more Spencer Burford moving forward. Burford did play good. So definitely good sign that Burford's coming along. And if, Aaron Banks has to deal with any time off, it's good for Burford. But, Aaron Banks has been dealing with a lot of injuries so far this season. He has the broken pinky, he has the calf contusion. This is a contract year for Aaron Banks. So if he continues to kind of get banged up and not showcase himself, which we all thought he was going to do on a contract year, he might, be a little cheaper option for them, or he could be expendable. If another team's going to pay him more than the Niners want to pay him, if he has a kind of a season, if the Niners are going to be inclined to pick him back up if Spencer Burford plays good. But it's a long season, ladies and gentlemen. A couple other news. So Talanoa Hufanga, of course, he's expected to maybe come back this week. D. Winters and Yetur Gross-Matos also have a chance to return this week. They're both dealing with knee issues. So they could come back. Yetur Gross-Matos, he has not started yet. He has not made his debut for the 49ers yet, other than that preseason game. And, he got the issue with the injury. And then D. Winters, linebacker, who's been dealing with a little bit of a knee issue as well. So hopefully they all can return and get back to the lineup. We want this team to be as healthy as they can be. But, the players that are in right now, they played great. They stepped up. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. Shout out to DFF. I ripped him up a lot this offseason, but he had an interception. So kudos to him for that. So, any case, those were the updates that Kyle Shanahan provided to us today. The win was amazing last night. We saw just how great, this team can be when they're firing in all cylinders. And again, they're not even at their peak of their power. So it was a great win, but they're only going to get better, man. And that's scary. Kyle Shanahan, he had some tricks up his sleeve yesterday, but there's still a lot more. If you saw, they tried to run that per dog play where they tried to have Debo on the end around throw it. It didn't get executed right, but eventually they're going to execute that play right, and they're going to throw a touchdown to Purdy, and it's going to be the greatest thing we ever seen. So I'm excited, man. And Nick Sorensen, he definitely looked like a really solid defensive coordinator with his game plan last night. Again, run defense was top tier, and I think this was just a fantastic win last night to open up the season. Again, a lot of legends in the building, and it was just a good vibe, good atmosphere. Anytime you walk away with the win, obviously you're going to be happy. So we get the Victory Tuesday celebration. And then Garrett Wilson, he said straight up, they whooped our ass, kept it 100%. And I respect them for that. And before the game, Fred Warner said, we're in the business of whooping motherfuckers' ass. So kind of manifested it. Fred Warner says we're in the business of whooping ass. And Garrett Wilson says they whooped our ass today. So you got to love it. Kind of went hand in hand. So Steven Reynolds says, do you think the Niners need depth for defensive end? I've been saying it all offseason. I still think they do. They released Jonathan Garvin, defensive end, for the practice squad. I'm sure they'll pick him up many times this year. But, I still think they need more edge depth. I love Bosa. I love Leonard Floyd. That was a great pickup. But just need a little bit more depth. You don't want them to get gassed out and tired through the year. But those two guys are fantastic together. They're only going to get better. But I definitely think that at some point this year they're going to add some edge depth. Because Yetur Gross-Matos, he's supposed to play on that edge, but he's not really an edge rusher. So I still think they could get maybe one more guy. So we'll see. Overall, an absolute great Victory Tuesday. So enjoy the rest of your night. We're going to be live later on Instagram with Jake, and then I might be live with Larry Krueger tonight. So I got to knock these shows out today. This is a busy day. Hope you guys have a good rest of your night. I love you. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, And Steven, you're probably right. Maybe the trade deadline. The Niners always kind of get in the mix, to try to get a move to take them over the top, right? Last year was Chase Young, and the year before was Christian McCaffrey. So if the Niners feel like they have a need and they're sitting there at the trade deadline, I would not be surprised if they pull the trigger. So, any case, we'll talk about that in another day as it gets closer to the trade deadline. But anyways, have a great night. Happy Victory Tuesday. I love you. Go Niners. Bang, bang. Not again.